volume low, really? Hold on, hold on. Now I know why it's low.
How the fuck did you change? That's...
Watch your ears, because it's going to get loud as soon as it hits the right one. Yeah, but it's not right. You're not hearing it direct. You're hearing it through a microphone. For some reason, this audio interface is starting to give me problems with this shit. See? I told you. It's going to get super loud. Fucking told you. Whoa, now it's way too loud. See? Only you do. Oh, yeah. Fucking killing me. Oh, juicy mimosas. Where the fuck did that come from? Oh, I know where that came from. Happy Passover. did I put that shit? Not what I'm looking for. Out of the whole list. Oh, shit, now I can't find it. There it is. a lot better than the Tonex. The Tonex for me just didn't do enough. I mean, I'm a crazy effects guy. Oh, delay, a little reverb, a little chorus. You know, like what I'm using here. You know, hold on. Can I pull this up on the screen? Is it going to be a dick? I'm going to try. I know I did it before. Is that? Nope. Alright, fuck it. I can do that. It'll work. Put that over here, something like that. Put like this so you guys can see it. Kinda. Sorta. Okay. So, you know, as you can see, I just got 2 delays. This one's got an extra flanger on it, but it's got a compressor and a reverb. So it's just, this is the basic. This is one of those presets that then you can kick it up with a drive pedal a little bit. Then I got this really like nasally, real just warm and smooth kind of thing. You back off on the tone and go to the neck, and it's just like almost like a fuzz. And then if you need a little more kick on that, you can kick the drive in. But it doesn't have so much top end that it tears your head off. Then you can go a little bit different. So you go back to the clean amp. Semi-clean, right? You go to the neck and it's clean. Kind of thing. You can throw the compressor on, and I have the compressor, so it's still the same level, but you get that extra sustain. Just there's that without it. This is that little bit extra. You know, it kind of evens out also the lows and the highs if you're playing more almost a lead on the clean kind of thing. Then you can go super fucking crazy. So now you go the clean amp with the drive pedal, right? Nice bluesy kind of. To real amps, no. I enjoy the modelers for what they're designed for, which is convenience. That's modelers. Now the profiler, the Kemper, which I also have, well, you can't see it right now, but right here. I prefer that one for studio use because I can get it to sound more like the real amp. And if I need to go back later and redo something, I can capture the amp tone. I capture the amp tone from every record I ever work on because everybody likes things a little bit different. So hold on, let me go over the Kemper real quick and I'll give you an idea what I'm talking about. So when I profile amps, let me just get rid of this fucking that is. Okay, so now we're on the Kemper. So what I do in my Kemper is when I get an amp in, okay, I set all the knobs at noon, and then I take a profile of it the way it is. So I have like a bone stock kind of amp kind of thing. Not like really like that, because the the controls on the Kemper don't work like the amp do, but it's just it's the character of the amp. Like this is an 800 that I captured, straight up, all letter, everything on 5, just with a Les Paul plugged into it, and just. You know, it's not overly gainy. It's not crazy over the top. You know, it's a good, solid Marshall sound. And then I build from there. So now from this one capture that I did of this amp, I'll go in and I'll make profiles with the tones changed and stuff, you know, added and shit. So I have probably 50 or 60 amps that I've done. If you name an amp, I probably have a profile for it, unless you get a little bit too crazy, you know, really too boutique. I've done the Friedman thing, EVHs, 5150s, Marshalls, JVMs, classic. I have a 74 Marshall in here. Hold on, 78 Marshall, sorry. Sorry, my bad. So this is a 78. All knobs at 5. It's totally that sound. Plug in an SG and you're rocking the Angus, right? But now I can tweak on top of that and turn it into other things. Like this same amp, I could go full on 80s, throw an overdrive on it. Hold on. You know, we'll go standard. We'll go 808, right? Load an 808 up, volume down. I mean, the volume up, drive down, tone it like. And now you go from that Marshall to more like that 80s George Lynchy kind of thing. You know, Jose Mod. And all I did was add an overdrive. That's it. Turn off the overdrive. That same tone. Yeah, it's that total 80s thing. You know, 2 Screamer plugged into a Plexi. That's the thing, right? What the fuck else I got in here? I got, I keep doing that shit with the master volume. God damn it, go away. Thank you. I got a clean Bassman. Oh, dropping the pick. It's just like a clean Fendery thing. Put a single coil neck pickup. You got jangle jangle all day long, or middle. You know what I mean? The main thing is the guitar, the way you pick, the way you do all that stuff to make the different sounds. You take the same. Yeah, I could turn this Bassman into like something like clean Metallica-ish. Come in here, Toss a chorus on it. Rotary speaker's too fast. I'll do a CE1. Load the CE1 preset. You know, so it's very easy to call up a ton of different sounds. It's great for that. You know, and the other thing that I think it's good for is back when I was coming up, you know, in the 80s, it was hard to get your hands on a lot of different kind of amps to know the type of tones that you like. So you'd have to scour through magazines to, you know, like one of my favorite guitar tones of all time is the guitar tone on the Ritual, not the Ritual, Souls of Black by Testament. One of my favorite metal guitar tones of all times. It's got this like, I don't know, it's got this like looseness to it. The playing's really tight, but the tone has this like sag to it that just makes it pump and sound like really big and monstrous. You know, you had to scour through magazines back in the day. You know, they'd have like in Guitar Player magazine, they'd have like a thing, how to get the tone for this song. And it'd be like a DOD distortion pedal with an EQ. No, just tell me the amp and what was used. Tell me. Just tell me. You know? And now, with like modelers, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable for a kid to be able to, not even a kid, but somebody just getting started, to save up $1,500. You get $1,500. You go buy yourself a nice guitar for around $800. You take the rest, you put it into something like a Pod Go or, you know, one of the lower end modelers. You know, you don't have to jump into fucking Axe-Fx and Quad Cortex and Kemper right away. Because that's just too much menu diving, I think, for a beginner. You know, something where you could just quickly call up a few settings. You know, like with the Pod Go, it's got a certain number of slots. You fill the slots with the effects you want, and you're good to go. You know, but the bass tones that are already in it are decent enough to build on and morph and change to create your own sounds. I think that's a brilliant thing that players have today that I didn't have as a kid. For me, I thought every guitar recorded on every album was a Marshall. I didn't know anything. You know, I'm playing 4 or 5 years, you know, trying to get these sounds that all my favorite guitar players are getting. Well, what do I need to get it? Well, I need a fucking 78 fucking JMP with a tube screamer and a cabinet with fucking 25 watt greenbacks. That rig in 1980 was still well over $2,000. So it's like unaccessible to a kid that's 11 years old in his room. But now you guys have the ability to test out all these different kinds of amps. You know, I mean, look at the Axe-Fx. I mean, this is hold on. Let me see if I can get this set up properly. Give me 1 sec. I want this. Nope, I don't want this. I want Axe Edit. Yes, that's what I want. I want that. If we go like this, ta-da! Oh, it doesn't quite fit. Let me fix that. We will fix that. Right here. There we go. You know, like just this on its own. You know, you're going to come in here. Let me move it this way a little bit so you can see it. Over here on the Axe-Fx, you know, you pick the block that you want. Let me go to a different preset real quick. I'm trying to click there to do the preset. That's some funny shit. I gotta do it over here. Okay. So here's an empty preset, right? So we're gonna load up an amp, any amp in the world. You know, I'm just gonna put amp 1 here. It's gonna come up as whatever it is, right? Over here, I'm gonna put a cabinet, right? I'm gonna connect the two. Right, and then I'm going to connect this to the output. All the way to the output. Connect this to the input. and I should have a tone. Oh wait, I'm still in the I'm still in the Kemper. Oops. Yeah, it's kind of there. I haven't done anything with it. You know what I mean? So now I can go in here, and I can click on this, and look at all these amps. There are 266 different amp presets in this thing. And I haven't really done anything with it in a huge way. I could pull up a Fender Tweed, a Bassman, a JMP. Sorry, that's JMP. These are Plexis, a 5150, 53, EVH, AC, angles, all of this stuff. But I don't want to call it spoiled, because that sounds like I'm going, oh, you guys have it easy. It's not. But this gives you the ability to test out all these different types of amps that you would never be able to play. It's a great thing. You can learn way more about tone and how to tweak it and how to shape it than I did when I was a kid. I remember buying my first Marshall. Oh my God. I had this I thought at the time I had to have this big old fucking rack because everybody was doing the rack thing. So it was like I had to have this big old rack, and with the big old rack, I had to do all this other shit. So you had the preamp and then an EQ after the preamp, and then you had a separate reverb unit and a chorus. So I'm working my ass off, saving all this money, mowing lawns, raking leaves, doing whatever I got to do, living back in New York when I'm like, 13 years old. And I wound up building myself this rack. And it sounded good. But again, it was a rack, so it was overly complicated. One fucking cable goes out in it when you're on stage. This is what happened at a gig. I'm at a gig, cable goes out. I'm like, what do? I take my pedal board, I plug it into my buddy's 800, and I go. And this monster tone comes out of it that I'm trying to use like 8 things to get. And there it is, just built into this amp. Why? Because I never plugged into a JCM 800 before. I never knew. That was my first time I ever plugged into a real tube amp. And I hit that fucking A chord, and it sounded massive. I was like, fuck you, man. How'd you get that? He's like, dude, it's just an 800. You got the tube screamer, you're good to go. I mean, in anything. It's the same in here. I just did it on the Kemper. I'll do it here too. We're going to add a drive to this. Over here, we'll set it as an 808. Right? The trick on the 808 is to drive all the way down and the level all the way up. I haven't even touched the tone controls yet, and it's already a decent tone. Go over here, we'll bring the level up on the amp a bit. Well, what if I'm a Dream Theater fan and I want to try like a John Petrucci thing? So no drive pedal, as he doesn't use them. Come on. Delete block. I had to remember how to do that. I don't do that very often. I usually know what I want when I build a preset. So you go into the amp, you got to come in. We're going to find the, where is it? The Boogie. Is it over here, Boogie? Is it under Boogie? No, it's Boutique, Brit. This is the other problem. Option paralysis. Having way too much stuff to try and tweak. I'll find it. Right here. 2C. I'm going to do it the 2C just plus. Okay? I have no idea how to dial in a Mesa, so this is going to be an experiment for me too. So I already hear that Mesa thing going on. Let's change the cabinet over to something. That's more friendly. So that would be the Recto SM57. It's already starting to get that. It's already got that Mesa characteristic to it. Oh wait, no, he doesn't do it that way. I think he does it like this. And there it is. You're already getting into Petrucci territory. It's definitely different. So this is the thing I tell everyone that wants to get into tube amps moving from a modeler. Don't worry about using the same settings. The same settings are not going to sound the same because the controls on the modeler are different than the way they work on the tube amp. And there's particular things on the tube amp that happen when you're tweaking the tone controls on some amps. That when you tweak the tone controls, like on the Mesa, for instance, when you tweak the tone controls, the gain structure of the amp changes because of the way the amp is designed. So don't worry about doing it that way. What I tell everyone to do, set all the controls on the amp at 5. Plug in, play a chord, see how it sounds. If you think it has too much low end, dial back the low end. Try it again. If you think the low end is right, cool. Now work on the mid-range. Last thing you do is you dial in your top end slowly, just to give you enough clarity to make the notes sing, but not be too annoying and piercing. So I can give you an example. So this preset that I've been playing is, I call it the smooth preset, because it's a smooth overdrive. Like I have there's tons of gain. Let me get rid of the chorus. I'll get rid of the verb. Right? Like this tone. Let me bring the XFX up again so you can see it. Come on, you piece of garbage. Garbage. So we pull up the tone, right? So these two drive pedals and the compressor are creating all that drive. Like this is the preset. That's the amp. That's where the amp is dialed. If I go to the bridge pickup, turn everything up, and beat on it. Yes. Chris, if it sounds good, you're doing it right. If it sounds good, you're doing it right. If you like the way it sounds, that's all that matters. It's your tone. Do whatever you want with it. There's no right, there's no wrong. If you want to have a ton of high end and it be super ear piercing because you want to do some shit like that, do it. There are no rules. This is music. It comes from the heart and the soul. When your heart and soul tells you to do something, just listen to it. That's the way I look at it all the time. So as I was saying, so this is just that, and this is not a high gain amp. I'm using you can't see it because of my camera. Because of my camera. So right here, that's a Sir Badger. The settings are set so it's pretty clean. It says it's got just a hair of breakup if you really lean into it. And from here, I build from there. So I know I want the amp to be completely clean, right? That way I can get that cool... my low E strings out of tune. Tune that real quick. I keep dropping my picks. God damn it. On the whole guitar. Oh, I know why. It's because the bar's on it. I set it up around the bar like an idiot. Yep. See? Everything's cool. Now I'm into... I wanted something that was a little more compact sounding, so I chose an amp that I know isn't like this big powerhouse high gain thing. The best way I could explain a Shure Badger, I guess it's kind of built on, I don't know, it's got this Mesa kind of thing to it, that like low end profile that all the Mesa amps have, real squishy, which is cool. That's totally what I was going for. But I needed to do something to really give it a lot of drive, so I grabbed this Esoteric ACB. I have no idea what that is, no idea what it's modeling, but it gave me all this gain and usable. Enough to push the amp and drive it a little bit. To give me like this in between. Turn the tone control down, get kind of nasally. You come in here, put a little bit of reverb and some delay on it, and you got... I think about the effects later. I know I'm always going to toss a reverb on. I know I'm always going to toss a delay on. I start with the core tone and then build from there. Then I said, okay, well, if I run into a situation where I have to do something that's like really high gain, what can I do? So I have two options with this. I could turn on the compressor, which is going to give me way more sustain. So if you listen... That's bridge pickup, tone control all the way up. If I kicked on the compressor, now I kick in the compressor. And you hear how it just gave it that little bit of lift? It's just this tiny bit of lift in the tone. And now, because it's compressed, I have it set so the notes sustain for a long time. So now I could take that same tone that's not super gainy, and I have all this great sustain. And it takes away some of the dynamics in the playing, but that's made for something that's more like, that kind of thing. Or like a legato kind of rhythm. So that's with the compressor. Now this is without it. See how it has a lot of dynamics, the notes all... So the compressor is a way to kind of cheat that. And I'm just kissing it, just a little tiny bit, to give me that. It smooths it all out. So when you play softer versus harder, the volume really doesn't do anything. It's more, the harder I pick, the more gain I get than volume. So if I turn the compressor off and I do that again, I get that little bit of gain, but as I pick harder, the volume comes up a little too, so the compressor kind of compensates for that a little bit. So that gives me a little bit more sustain there. The other option that I have is I have the Tube Screamer like I was using before. Well, by the way, I don't know if you can tell, it's my favorite overdrive in the world. I've been using one since 1982, and I will not stop. You know, so that's like, I don't know, it reminds me of that Steve Miller thing. I never learned how to play that song. That shit. So that's what that reminds me of. And then I have the comp on top of that to give me more sustain as well. So if I'm playing a lead and I want that tone, but I want a little bit more sustain for the lead, I can kick the comp on. So you hear the difference. So now I have a little bit more sustain to play some lead. Without getting too crazy high gain. But then, if I seriously really want to go out and fucking have some ripping distortion, some shreddy shit, I put the original drive on, and then I put the Tube Screamer on, and I turn into fucking Shreddy McShredderson. And on top of that, I could still throw this on it, the compressor on it, and get even more sustain out of it. I'm not going for like the modern metal sound either. You know, this is like the classic 80s Marshall kind of thing that I'm doing. You know, I'm not trying to get that super modern aggressive thing. You know, this is for something else, but it gives you the idea on how you can gain stage. You know, so you have different overdrives and different things that give you slightly different tones, so you have a variety of tones. You know, in one preset. You know, you don't have to go switching presets and dealing with switching and all that stuff. It's just all right here. You know, oh, I kick this pedal on. Oh, I kick this pedal on. I use it like a regular amp does. So with the settings on the 808, on this at least, on the Axe-Fx. So what I use that for is, let me go to another preset, and we'll build a preset from scratch. So a perfect example for this is, again, the 800. So we'll go back to the 800. Because an 800 can do a lot of stuff. All right, we'll just pick a flat, straight 800. All right, I'll go in, I'll grab a cab. And for this particular one, I'll use V30s because I'm going to go for something a little more modern. So I'm going to grab over the Recto 412 cab with a 57. Okay, connect the two. Connect that to my output. Boom. Connect this to my input. Done. I should have a signal. Yep, not very loud, but I have a signal. Okay, I'm going to the amp. These are all the amp settings. I will pull this up so you can see it again. Now you have all the amp settings, right? So with an 800, what I would normally do, because of the way they're designed, okay, is number one, I'm going to dump the treble. I'm probably going to go about 2. I'm going to pump the mids and I'm going to pump the bass, because Marshall 800s tend to lack a little bit of low end. So this is how I would probably set it up as an idea to start. Now for the gain, okay? So the Axe-Fx tends to have a little more gain than the actual 800 does. Like if I crank this up, that's a hair more than the actual 800, but it'll be fine for this example. So you got this Marshall 800 that you just bought, and now you've cranked out your controls, and now you have, this is all you get. It's not enough gain to play some cool metal shit, right? So what did we do back in the day? We grabbed an overdrive pedal. We'll go in here. We'll grab an 800. An 808, sorry. Straight up 808. Tube Screamer, basically. Tube Screamer type overdrive. Okay? And I'm going to come in here, and on the settings, I'm going to go drive all the way down, because I don't want any additional distortion to come from the pedal. I just want the pedal to push the front of the amp. So by doing that, and now I'm going to boost the level a little bit so you guys can really hear it. Well, that's a little too loud. Fuck me running. Now you start getting into that metal territory, right? So then on top of that, what we did is we used EMG pickups, which are higher output as well. So what we're using the overdrive to do is just push the front of the amp. I mean, you could add more gain on the Tube Screamer if you want more gain like that too. Now, what you really want to do is, if you want to get into the super modern-y stuff, and you asked the reason why it was set the way it was. So what I like to do is I like also boost the tone a little bit. Some guys like to pull it back to not so you don't get as much pick attack. I like pick attack. I like hearing it, so I bring it up a little bit. And now I have a little bit more pick attack. Now the other thing we're also doing, so we're going to go modern. played any of that Kill 'Em All shit forever. So that's the Tube Screamer thing. Yeah, but what you're doing is you're gain staging. Now, I don't know what kind of tone you go for. Like, what's your favorite guitar tone? What do you want? What do you want to sound like? You go, oh my God, this is the guitar tone I want. You know, what would that be? Who would it be? Who's your guy? And if you say Dimebag, I'll slap you. I'm only kidding. He just had a terrible tone. Great fucking player, awesome dude, terrible tone. Although it did improve muchly in Damage Plan. Because he started using tube amps. So that's really the big question. That's where you have to go. You know. So you got to figure out who you like. You know, get gear that's similar or get the gear. I mean, just remember, you're never going to sound 100% like anybody else. But that's the thing. That's the convenience of a modeler. You know, I mean, you can see it right there. I have a tube amp in the house. I have a couple of them. They're in my rehearsal room. But there's my EVH right there. I will never sell this amp. This is my favorite amp in the world. I love it. But I live in a neighborhood and I can't crank that amp up at 2 a.m. if I come up with an idea for a song. You know, so modelers have their place. It shouldn't be this, oh my God, you using a modeler, you suck. Or, oh my God, you use the tube amp, you're old school. No, they all have their place. Every one of them. You know. Thank you. I appreciate it. I literally was thinking last week, I was like, you know what, should I buy myself a Podgo again? Because I'd like to see what it's up to now, what it can do. It's been 2 or 3 years. So I'm sure it's even better than it was, and it was already cool. You know. Mick Mars, Lynch, Rhodes, the 80s stuff. So there you go. You want that modded Marshall thing. That you want to look at like Soldano. You want to look at like a 5150. The Friedman stuff, the BE100. You know, so if you take a BE100, let's build one. Fuck it, we'll build one. There's a BE100 in here. We'll come over here, we'll go to Friedman, we'll go to HBE, the old version of the Brown Eye, the original. We'll go to that. We'll set all the controls at noon. Set that to 5. Set that to 5. Set that to 5. We're going to set master volume to 5. Okay. I'll bring that down a little. And now we just have the straight up. Oh, I got the overdrive on. We'll kill the overdrive. And now I just have the straight up HBE. So, I can tell you exactly what was used on Heartwork. I talked to Colin Richardson and Andy Sneap. I used to be a member of the Andy Sneap forum with Glenn and Ola and all those guys. So we had a thread talking about that Heartwork tone. We were like, we all loved it. Every one of us. We were like, I don't know what they did, but there's this aggressiveness to that tone. Like, especially on, what the fuck is the name of that song? I want to say Corporal Jigsaw Quandary, but it's not. And they get that cool. That I'm gonna play an octave. It's got an octave. I gotta fucking play it. It's been forever. But okay, so Carcass's Heartwork is a 5150 into a Marshall cabinet with vintage 30s. And then it's mixed. So they used 2 amps. They mixed the JCM 800 combo amp with the 5150. So that's where all that... No, it's the song right before No Love Lost. And now I gotta pull up the record. Son of a bitch! This is gonna drive me crazy that I cannot remember this. Because it's my favorite song on the fucking record. Carnal Forge. So, but yeah, Carnal Forge is the song. There's this like something about the tone, particularly on that song, was just like really brutal. Really brutal. Buried Dreams is a great one too. I love that one. Embodiment's a great... I love that album. That whole album is great. There isn't a bad song on it. I love that record. It's my favorite Carcass. They were just here last week. No, last week. They were here last Thursday, and I didn't go. But yeah, that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite. I want to call Carcass grindcore, but they stopped being grindcore. This record. They got into that melodic death metal thing. Yeah, they're fucking unbelievable band. Unbelievable record. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Necroticism too. Necroticism is a great record as well. Love that fucking record. Surgical Steel, when they came back. Killer record. Killer. But Heartwork is the classic. There was an era in metal, and I talk about this a lot, from 1986, it's like a 10-year span. It's like 1986, not even 10 years, it's like 8 years. 1996 to like 1994, where you got all these classic, amazing metal records. Painkiller by Judas Priest. You got Seventh Son by Maiden. You had Dawkins' last record. Carcass's Heartwork was early 90s. That came out in 94. Machine Head's Burn My Eyes came out. The first fucking the first Arch Enemy. You know, Testament had Practice What You Preach, and Souls of Black. Slayer, absolutely. You had all these great bands coming out between like 86 and 94. It was just all these amazing players and all this shit. Pantera was in that mix. Fucking Zach with Ozzy, really fucking making Ozzy like metal for once. You know, Jake didn't really make a metal. Jake was like, they did like the harder 70s rock and roll thing. Zach came in and made Ozzy fucking metal. You know, that fucking Crazy Babies riff was heavy as fuck. I never forget the first time I heard that with the chorus and his fucking vibrato and shit. My God, that was the heyday for me. That's where I grew up. I grew up in that slot. In 1986, I was 10 years old. In 1994, I was 18. Just graduating high school. You know, so I was in my room woodshedding all of that stuff. All of the Skolnick solos. And, you know, you had the cool Yngwie stuff that came out. Racer X, Paul Gilbert, George, Greg Howe, fucking... I go down the list of all the major 80s players. I hit the heyday, dude. It was incredible. Satriani, Vai, Gambale. It was just all these guys I was super lucky, you know. So I spent my time with my nose in Guitar Magazine, you know. Yeah, you know. So exactly same time period. So you know it too. We had all these great bands. Oh, I love the tribute album. I made a record with Vinnie Moore. I don't know if you guys know this, but I produce records also. And I was working for Mike Varney, Shrapnel Records, at a studio here in Las Vegas, and we did a record together called Red Zone Rider. The songs are really good. The production is lacking. So I started the record, but I quit like 2 weeks in because I wanted to kill the singer. Well, I'll just say that. I wanted to kill the singer. I don't want to give away anything. But I have, let me show it to you. I have, this is cool as fuck. Let me find them real quick. It'll take me a second. So, I'm just going to pull up this. Nope. It's none of those. Go figure. There we go. Okay, so these photos are from, and I got a couple of videos here I'll play too. Come from the production of the record. So we did this record at, I don't know if you guys ever watched the History Channel. There was a show called Counting Cars. It was this guy, Danny the Count Coker. He owns a big rock club here in town, and he also builds custom vehicles and shit. So I was working at his studio back around 2013. So one of my buddies worked on the record also, this guy Scott Coogan. He's played with Ace Frehley. He was in the band OTEP for a little while. So this was the setup. So over here in the corner you can actually see Vinny. So when Vinny showed up, unfortunately, they lost his luggage and his guitar on the plane. It wound up on a different plane. So he didn't have any gear with him. So I loaned him a bunch of my gear in order to use it. So there's Vin playing my fucking 80s fucking Epiphone Les Paul into an old crank amp I had that sounded like a JCM 800. This is a bass player and singer, Kelly Keeling. He was with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and that, of course, that's Scotty on the drums. But yeah, we had a great time making this record until it got bad. Here's Vin making faces, telling me the guitar plays like shit, joking around. So it was cool. We had a great time. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. But hold on, I have a little bit of video. I don't know. I haven't seen this stuff in years, so I'm not sure what everything is, but there is a little bit of video. Let's see.
Does it sound bad high?
Maybe halfway through. I would start low and then go up high, maybe, yeah. A little bit down.
Talking about song arrangements. And then they wound up doing one music video for it, which I'll show you too. This video is already going to get muted from me playing all those riffs, so I might as well just show it. It's a song called At the Rainbow's End. Here it is.
Yeah, this is a very interesting project. I don't think I've ever done anything quite like this, where I get an email saying, hey, how would you like to play with this bass player who's a great singer? And I'm like, well, I might be interested. Who is it? And I found out it was Kelly Keeling, who I've known was a great singer, but I never even knew he played bass or keyboards. And not only does he play bass or keyboards, but he plays them both very well.
Well, who's going to be the guitarist? He's like, Vinnie Moore. Vinnie Moore? The Vinnie Moore? And Scott Coogan, who I know from LA. I love this band. It's the best band I've been in.
Never again. No. I will never do this again. Shh. We had the first 3 songs were fairly easy because they were already.
The scary part is he wasn't joking. Scott was making a joke. He's like, I'm never doing this again. He goes, I'm going to say it in the interview. I'm going to say it. I'm like, no, you're not. I was like, don't do that. He's like, no, yeah, I'm going to do it. I was like, okay. And he fucking did it. Crazy son of a bitch. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to, to work with some really amazing musicians over the years. If you guys know Dario Arena, Dario plays in Black Label Society, and he now has a band. What are they called? Dark Chapel. He's got a new band called like Dark Chapel. So I don't remember off the top of my head, but I did his first record for Shrapnel Records. I mixed and engineered on that one. There's Jackie Vincent, who's the guitar player from Falling in Reverse. I did his debut record on Shrapnel Records. I worked with Stoney Curtis, who's on their blues label. Eric Gales. Bob Kulick, who passed away, who used to be Kiss and Meatloaf. So it's been pretty awesome. I've been super lucky. Pat Travers, Tracy Guns from LA Guns. Trying to think who else. I don't know. Tons of fucking people. But yeah, that's what I do for a living, really. I mix and produce records. The guitar playing thing is just something I've always done. But yeah, you want to hear something else really cool? I'll show you this too, because I saved this because I thought it was amazing, and when I heard it, I went, "Holy shit, this is incredible!" So let me find it. Hold on. It's a decent resume. Oh yeah, I worked with Rowan Robertson, who was in Dio. Now that I'm looking through all my Pro Tools sessions, Jeff Duncan from Armored Saint, he's actually my business partner in the studio and the record label that we have. Nope, it's not in that folder. I have way too much shit saved. Oh, here it is. Okay. So Jackie Vincent. Damn it, I'm trying to remember what song it was on. Heaven or Hell. So it was that song. Okay. I was right. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So this song has Paul Gilbert on it. I reamped all the guitars on Symbol of Salvation Live. The live record that came out, I don't know, what, 2-3 years ago? I reamped all the guitars on that one. I worked on 2 Armored Saint records. I worked on that one, and I recorded a bunch of background vocals for the rest of the band here in Vegas on the last record, Punching the Sky. So, anyway, this song, he got Paul Gilbert to play on it. And Paul was on the road with, I think his solo band at the time. And he recorded this on the bus. He literally just plugged his guitar into an interface and just played this and then sent it to us. I have the isolated track. And it's amazing, but I want to play you the solo first. So here's the Paul Gilbert solo. That's fucking incredible. I get off the phone with Paul. He sends me the email. I immediately call him back after I hear it. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. I'm like, how long did this take you? He goes, no, I was just one take. No problem, no big deal. I'm like, no, it's not. He's like, I swear. And he sent me the DI. I lost the DI. The DI I don't have. But I literally have the isolated solo. Just the solo on its own. That's Paul Gilbert, yeah. Sick. This is a sick solo. So here's the exact same solo, completely isolated. It's amazing. His picking technique is stupid clean. I heard that, no string noise, nothing. Just him full on ripping Paul Gilbert the way Paul Gilbert rips. And I was just like, I'm putting my guitar down. I'm never going to play again. Never going to play guitar again. Incredible, man. Fucking and dude, the nicest fucking guy. You know, we were kind of in a pinch on the record, and I needed that solo. It was the last thing we needed to do. So Varney gave me his number, and I called him, and I was like, listen, I hate to be a pain in the ass, but I need that solo today. I got to get it in the record because I got to get it to mastering tomorrow, and I need it. I'm sorry. He's like, I'll see what I can do. So me and Jackie had an alternative thing. We were just going to have Jackie play it, and it would just be done. But so we were like, we need this. And he plugged into an interface on the bus. It wasn't even his, it was Billy's. So it must have been with Mr. Big. He was on the road with Mr. Big. He plugged into Billy's interface. Billy pulled up some amp sim or something. He played a solo and he sent it to us. I was just like, oh my fucking God. Yeah, dude. The look on Jackie's face when it came in and we heard it was, he wanted to cry, dude. Paul's one of his biggest influences. He goes, I got Paul. He got Paul Gilbert and Michelangelo Badio to play solos on his record. You want to hear the Michelangelo Badio solo? That was on Star X Speed Story. Hold on. All right, here it is. It's when the tone. You heard 3 notes, right? You had 3 notes. It's like, oh yeah, it's Badio. It's funny as fuck. So here it is. Check it out. He just ripped it, dude. So that's the Badio solo. You want to hear the Badio solo? I got that too. So here's the Badio solo. So that's my impressive resume. I worked on records that nobody in the real world has actually listened to. Guitar players have. Yeah, I met Varney about Mike Varney from Shrapnel Records. I met him probably, gotta be 15 years ago. One of the guys here in town, one of the guitar players in town, is a guy named Stoney Curtis. He signed on Varney's blues label, and he had come into town, and I was friends with Stoney. And Stoney knew I was a Shrapnel guy. You know, so he was like, I'm going to introduce you to Varney. I'm going to bring him to one of your shows. So Varney comes to the show, and I don't know it's him. I've never seen him. I don't know what he looks like, right? And we finished the first set. I was playing in this like top 40 cover band at the time. I finished my set and I walk off stage and I'm fucking thirsty as hell. I got like cotton mouth, you know. I was smoking at the time, so I was like, I gotta get something to drink. So Stoney walks up to me with Varney, and he goes, "Hey Jason, this is my friend Mike," thinking I would realize that he was talking about Mike Varney, and I didn't realize it. And I was like, "Hey Mike, how you doing?" And I walked away. I got my drink and I come back. He goes, and he looks at me and he goes, "You just walk away from Mike Varney like that?" I was like, "Oh shit, that Mike." I didn't. Yeah. So second set was unbelievably fucking nerve wracking because you're trying to play everything perfect because fucking Mike Varney's there. It's the worst. The fucking worst, man. I've been afforded a lot of opportunities in this business, man, and it's been very cool. You know, I'm going to be 50 next year. I'm going to fucking, you know, I work for myself. I own a house in Vegas. I'm good, man. It's awesome. I love it. But yeah, it's very fun and very cool to work on these records, man. It was really fun. I did Dario from Black Label's debut record, too. That was a really fun one to work on. We had a lot of fun on that record. I'm trying to think if there was any other really like memorable, cool stuff that really happened. Not really. But yeah, you know, I fucking come on here for a couple hours fucking every week and fucking fuck up solos and play like shit in front of the world, and it's just fun. You know, this whole thing for me is just random screwing around with stuff. As a new guitarist, what would you say are the best chords to learn first? I know like A, C, D, G, seventh chords. All of your seventh chords. Learn every one of your seventh chords and the scales that go with them. I actually have you guys are on YouTube, so I don't know how to. Oh, I know how I can do it. I can do it like this. Hold on. I can do this. This is like basic seventh chord triads, but it'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Give me a sec. I'll upload this to my drive, and then I'll send you guys a link. Okay, be a dick today. What are you doing? Do. Put that there. And we will grab. Which is funny that you bring that up, because that's what I have been working on recently. I haven't really been doing the. I don't want to call it the jazz thing, because it's not really the jazz thing, but I'll put this up here. I will put this up here. Yeah, that's what I have for now. So let me give you guys a link to this. I'm going to share that folder with the world. Copy link. So this link, thanks, man. I appreciate it. That link. Oh, did that? I don't know if that came through on YouTube. Looks like it did. Okay. So that link is going to take you to a folder that's up on my Google Drive, and there's 2 JPEG files in there. One is all of your chord formulas, how you build chords. You know, 1-3-5, major sixes being 1-3-5-6. Minor 7, 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. That's all in there. And then there's also something called closed shell voicings, which are basically what they are is they're seventh chord triads. So they're just a shape that you can move around the neck really quickly to get seventh chord voicings. So there's major seventh, minor seventh, you know, your dominant, and major 6 are all on that chart. Yeah, but those are just like, let's get rid of that. That's why I've been working on this tone, actually, because I'm putting together a jazz fusion project. So I need one tone. I could use multiple, but it's just easier for me to use one tone. Just one, so that, like that's a C major 7, C minor 7. D major 7, D minor 7. Just so you can get that sound in your head. So the big thing also to work on, and nobody really talks about this. Everybody talks all the time about, you know, when you're working on like scales and modes. Okay. Do you know the difference between a scale and a mode? That's the first question. There's a huge lag today. Okay, so you have you have your regular scales, right? Like I'm going to use C major as an example because we always do, and that's how I teach this. So deal with it. So your C major scale, right? C D E F G A B C. Technically C D E F G A B C, A B. Sorry. That's your do re mi fa sol. Do re mi. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. Everybody knows that. So even if you're not a musician and you're watching this, you should be able to understand this. So, do re mi fa sol la ti do is your major scale. Okay, it's the scale that all Western music is based on. There are 12 notes, and then we take every note that's not a flat and not a sharp, and we put it together. And we get the C major scale, which is your notes are going to be C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then if you want to play the octave, C again. So within that scale are ways to play that scale to make it not sound like a C major scale. Those are called modes. So inside the C major scale, you have multiple other scales. You have a Dorian scale. You have a Lydian scale. You have your Phrygian, Mixolydian. Now, if you have a good ear, what you noticed is that every one of those scales was just the same notes that just starts on a different. Your root note is different, and the note you focus on, the sound of, is different. So I'm going to pull up one of my programs here. So this is a program called Infinite Paths that I use to teach this. So I'm just going to play a C. That's just a root C note. So if I play C major, let me put this a little bit closer to my face. So if I wind up playing like a C major scale over it, you're going to get the sound of a C major scale, or what we call the Ionian scale. Now, if I take that same exact scale, all of those same notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, if I take all of those same notes, but I play them over a D pedal tone, so now this is the same notes over a D. See how the sound completely changed? It's the same scale. But I'm starting on D and playing over a D. And you get a different sound. We could do the same thing if we go to E, the next note in the scale. So now this would be the Phrygian mode. This one is one of my favorite modes in the world because it sounds cool as fuck. So, your modes are all of the same notes from the originating scale, just played over different pedal tones or over different roots. And you can create different sounds by doing that. You know, Phrygian's got this like Spanishy, Middle Eastern vibe about it. You know, Dorian's kind of this big triumphant sounding. Mixolydian's got this very like Celtic vibe to it. But this is the thing. They are regular scales. They're the same scales you already know. You're just playing it from a different root note. So all the notes for your C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now instead of playing them C to C, play those same notes, but play them D to D. D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Back to D. And that'll give you your Dorian mode. Start them from E. E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Back to the E. That's your Phrygian mode. So there's an order of modes. And I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can find it. It won't take very long. Just give me a second. I'll find it and I'll pull it up. I'm just going to put it in a notepad document, put it up there. I want this to look a specific way so it's easy for you to read. Goddamn caps lock. That's the root. That's the second. That's the third. That's the fourth. That's a fifth. A sixth. And your seventh. So this is major. This is minor. This is minor. This is major. That's major. I'm giving you a little chart. That's diminished or augmented, depending on how you look at it. Minor. Okay. Where did I fucking save that? Sorry. Terrible place. Let's save that over there. All right, so I'm going to put a new document up there too, which has this in it. And this should help you out with the order of the modes. So in that folder, at that same link, there's a document I just put in there called the order of the modes. So if we take a look at that real quick, I'll show it to you. I'll bring it up on the screen so you can see it. sec. Okay. So here you have the order of the modes. It's probably kind of small. Hold on. Let me format this. I can make this a little bigger. But not too big. Okay. So here we go. So you have your mode. So these are your modes. So the first thing here is what note you're playing. The root note, the second, the third, the fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh. So all that is that's the 7 notes of your scale in order. Okay? So if you were in C major, this would be C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. So along with that, now you have the order of the modes, and they're always in this order. The order never changes. It's your Ionian mode, which is the same as your major scale. The Dorian mode, which is a minor scale. The Phrygian mode, which is a minor scale. And then you have the Lydian, which is a major scale. The Mixolydian, which is a major scale. The Aeolian, which is a minor scale. And your Locrian, however you fucking want to say it. Nobody's fucking figured out the exact proper way to say it. Is diminished. Or augmented, depending. That's a whole thing when you get another theory, but whatever. It's diminished. That's the way we know it. That's the way we know it as. So, let's take that C major scale, and we can harmonize that C major scale with chords. Okay? So, every chord, every note in the scale has a chord that follows it. Okay? So, your C, your root, is going to be, because we're using the C major scale. So, that's your C major. Then your next note in your scale is D, so that would be a minor scale. Okay? Your Phrygian is also a minor scale. Your Lydian is a major scale. Your Mixolydian is a major scale. Your Aeolian is a minor scale. And then you're diminished. And then back to C. So if you listen to all those chords in order, you'll hear the scale. And that gives you... I forgot the B. Oops. But does that make sense to you? I find that most teachers and the way they teach this is absolutely horrible. Because they go through the circle of fifths and you're skipping around and it doesn't make sense, and then they're gonna go, okay, today we're gonna teach you all of the this is the Dorian scale, and now you're gonna learn all the Dorian scale. So you learn the shape of the Dorian scale, but you don't learn how to use the Dorian scale. By relating it back to the chords and stuff you already know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Kaboom. Now it all makes sense and it clicks. It's like, oh shit, it's all the same stuff. Yeah, it's all the same stuff. I learned my major shapes on guitar. I learned my minor shapes on guitar. And I just know in my head. But now I know in my head, because I know the patterns of the scales, when I need to play I need to play G Lydian. I know that I'm just playing C major. That's it. You come at me with a 4 chord, I'm gonna play play fucking C major over it. That's the way I figured it out. And just scarily enough, and this relates back to what we were talking about earlier. It relates back to Vinnie Moore. Vinnie Moore teaches it that way. That's how I learned it on one of his Hot Licks videos. That's how he explained it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so." I'm like, this is so easy now. Yeah, I spent like 15 years trying to figure this out. And just being like, this is so confusing. And then I get this, no problem. Yes, learn the shit out of it, because it's the basis for all music. Everything I just gave you is everything you need to know to learn how to play any chord, any scale, and create any sound that you want. It's the keys. No, absolutely. And I fully believe that. But we've all been learning the do, re, mi thing since we were in frickin' kindergarten. Right? So, if you relate it to that or stuff that you already know that you have in your head your whole life, you know? Now, you want to hear something even cooler? So, I can teach you the sound of the modes without an instrument. 100% without an instrument. Okay? And it's because of the sound of music. They came up with that stupid thing, right? Do, a deer, a female deer, re, drop a goat, right? That whole thing. If you sing that song, starting from whatever the second one is, so you have do, so you start from re. So if you start that song and you sing it from re to the end, now you have the Dorian mode. If you sing it from the third one, you have the Phrygian mode. So you can learn the sound of these just sitting around, driving around in your car. You don't even have to have your guitar in your hand. And now you learn the sound of all the modes in your head. And when somebody plays something on a record, you go, oh, I recognize that. And then you just have to figure out what key it is and how they fingered it on the fretboard. You can hear the difference between all the scales just by doing that. It's ear training. And it's the most important thing you can do as a musician is to be able to train your ear, not to know, like, if you hear a note and go, oh my God, that's a D. Not that, but to know the sound of the modes, the way specific scales sound. So if I play this scale, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick 4 notes from that scale, these. Okay? I'm going to play them over and over, and I'm going to change the root note they're played over underneath them, and you're going to hear the difference in the modes I'm using. So I'm going to start with an E. Because they're dumb. Let me put this whole thing up on the screen again. So this is that Infinite Pads program I was talking about. It runs on Android, so I have an Android emulator on my computer, and it'll just play root notes. It's got a bunch of different sounds in it you can use. I just like this one because it's cool and dreamy. So as you can see, I'm playing over an E. Now I'm going to play that same lick, but I'm going to play it over an A pedal. You see how both of them create a different mood? When you play it over E, it sounds like Spanish and Mexican. You know, that kind of like flamenco thing. And then when you play it over the A, it sounds Egyptian. It's the same notes. I didn't change anything. But the pedal tone that's being played underneath them changes, so the sound of the scale changes. So I'll do the same thing with the C major scale again. Here's your C. Okay, now I'm going to move that to D. Now I'm going to move it to E. Now to the F. But you got to remember, without the bass scales, your regular majors and minors, you're not going to know how these work. That's the trick. You have to know what your regular scales are and what chords work with those scales. So again, same notes over F. Now this one sounds uplifting and happy. And then over the G. Over the A. Now this is the weird one. Then over the B.